My name is Sam, and this is my true story that not only horrified me, but also changed the way I look at people, career, and life in general. I am submitting my story to help people, especially new truck drivers, understand what they are up to when they sign that hauling contract. I've been an over-the-road trucker for a little over 12 years now. This happened back in 2020, right in the thick of the pandemic, which somehow made it feel even more surreal. I was hauling HVAC units from Portland to Boise. Nothing too crazy, but it meant crossing through Mount Hood National Forest, sometimes a little over midnight. On this terrifying night, the rain was unlike anything I've ever driven through. It wasn't just heavy, it was relentless. Like the whole mountain was drowning. The wipers were going full blast and still couldn't keep up. I was barely pushing 35 around the curves, trying to keep my rig on the slick, narrow road. Then, just past a turnout, I saw a woman dressed in all white from top to bottom. She faced the woods, motionless, no umbrella, no reflective gear. I tensed. At first, I didn't know what to make of what I saw, but I remember that eerie sight very well. It was like nothing I had seen before. At first, I figured she'd crashed or needed help, but there was no vehicle, no bike, no pack. She was there, all alone in the dark. I slowed down as I passed. My headlights hit her full on. She didn't flinch, didn't look at me. She just stared into the trees. That image stuck with me. Not because she was doing anything threatening, because of how wrong it felt. She wasn't looking for help. She wasn't lost. I drove on, trying to shake that eerie feeling. Told myself it was nothing, just a mountain drifter too proud to wave me down. But 10 minutes later, I saw her again. Same woman, same tall white clothes, same side of the road, still staring into the woods. There were no turnouts, no connecting roads, no place to pull a U-turn unless you wanted to drop off a cliff. My stomach dropped. I checked my mirrors, half expecting to see someone climbing up the back of the trailer. I slammed the horn. No reaction. I swerved into the oncoming lane, and when I looked in the mirror, she was gone. Vanished, like she'd never been there. My skin went cold. Not that I was unfamiliar with exhaustion hallucinations, this wasn't that. I was caffeinated, alert, and no matter how I tried to rationalize it, nothing made sense. I found a turnout and pulled over. I killed the engine. I just wanted to take a moment and hopefully make sense of what I'd just seen. Twice. For a few minutes, I just held the steering wheel, just trying to put my mind together. Then, out of nowhere, I heard this unusual tap on the driver's side window, a single, slow, wet tap. A creeping chill ran up my spine. I freaked, and when I turned my head, no one was there. But then I heard the tap again, this time 3 wet taps. I panicked. I fired the engine back up and floored it. I didn't care about jackknifing. I didn't care about the truck. I just wanted to get as far as possible from that creepy mountain road. For a few miles, I think I didn't use the rear mirror. I was too horrified to. After hitting the gas hard for I don't know how many minutes, I came across a small, poorly lit gas station. A deputy stepped out with a flashlight. Mid-50s, looked tired. I jumped down and told him what I had just seen, rambling about the woman dressed in all white. He just listened, quiet, didn't react, didn't tell me anything. And when I was done, he asked, "Did you say all white?" My stomach flipped. "Yeah. You've seen her before?" He nodded. Slowly, then glanced out at the forest behind us. "We've gotten stories like yours for years now. Truckers, forest workers, even a couple of bikers. Always rainy nights, always this stretch of 26. No one's gotten a clear look at her. She's always turned away. But a few, he paused, a few said she approached their trucks when they parked by the roadside. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Then the deputy leaned in and said something that's stuck with me every night since. I think you were just lucky. All these encounters never end well. I stayed in a motel that night, slept with the lights on, never finished that haul. The next morning, I told dispatch that I had a mechanical failure. Later that afternoon, I limped the rig back to Portland. Since then, I've rerouted every trip that even brushes against Mount Hood after dark. I don't care about fuel cost or time. I think the woman dressed in all white stalked me that night. And I will say this now, she resembled a woman I dated when I was starting my career. I know I may sound unrealistic here, but I strongly feel that she wasn't there by mistake. And I think she was waiting for me, what she wanted with me. It seems I will never know now that I have never seen her again. They call it the loneliest road in America, US Route 50. If you've ever driven it at night, you'll definitely understand why. My name is Johnson, and I have been in the trucking business for well over 10 years. I love trucks. They're all I have known since I was young. On this fateful day, I was hauling a load eastbound out of Sacramento, heading towards Salt Lake back in '99. I'd done the route before, quiet, wide open. Most nights were peaceful. This one wasn't. It started with this unusual clicking sound, like a metal grinding over the tarmac surface. I listened again. This time I didn't hear anything. I didn't pay much attention. I proceeded, now paying more attention to the surroundings. But about 60 miles outside Ely, I stopped at this dusty little diner, the Sagebrush Grill. Old school place. Only one other rig parked outside. Inside, the waitress was making coffee. She glanced at the empty seat next to me and asked, "You ever hear of a trucker named Martin Owens?" I thought that was odd. I shook my head. She looked uneasy. Then, Owens sat in that same seat 5 years ago. He got black coffee, tipped $2, and drove off into the night. He was never seen again. She explained. I knew Martin Owens. What I didn't know was why she chose to tell me about him, especially in the middle of the night. I thought it was just small-town folklore, until she added, "Cops found his rig off a service road, locked up, still had his wallet and lunch, like he just walked away." I didn't pay much attention to Owen's story. I didn't even try to understand what she wanted to communicate to me at that particular moment. But today, as I look back at the events that followed, I think I should have paid attention. I think I should have stayed a little longer. My horrifying night experience started as soon as I drove off into the darkness. An hour or so after leaving Sagebrush Grill, I pulled out of Ely just after midnight. Pitch black. Not a single other car I could see. About 40 miles in, I noticed lights behind me. A pair of old halogen beams, too dim to be modern. They were tailing me. At first, I figured it was another trucker, but every time I slowed, they slowed. When I pulled to the shoulder, they did too. Just far enough back I couldn't make out the vehicle. Finally, I flipped off my lights and pulled down an old mining road. I waited. The lights passed me, didn't even slow. But the weird part, there was no engine noise, no wind disturbance, just silence. I got out, a flashlight in my hand, thinking maybe I was just spooked. I walked around the rig hoping to see someone. Nothing. But then, out of nowhere, I saw a dark figure of a man standing right there in front of me. Shivers run down my spine. For a few seconds, I just stood there, confused. I don't even know whether I screamed. All I remember was sprinting to my truck, hoping in through the driver's window, and slamming the door shut. I think I can't accurately describe my reaction. Then, without thinking, I hit the gas hard and drove off so sporadically that I almost lost control of the truck. Luckily, I didn't. About 10 miles down, I saw another dark figure, almost similar to the one I saw earlier. I am not sure whether it was a real person or I was just being paranoid. I just focused on the steering wheel and the dark tarmac road. I didn't have the confidence to look sideways to the roadside. I finally made it to a rest area near Austin, Nevada, around 2:30 a.m. I parked in and locked up the truck's doors. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I met an old guy fueling up next to me. He saw my plates and said, "You came down 50 last night." I nodded. He looked at me for a second and asked, "Did you see the dark, horrifying man along the highway?" I freaked. Then I nodded. He stopped, like someone who noted something unusual. What he said next just horrified me. "You see, they think I am crazy. Now, at least there is someone else who saw him," he added. Apparently, the man also saw a frightening dark figure on the highway somewhere around midnight. His confirmation was even more terrifying. After engaging the other truck driver and a few locals, I learned that there had been numerous sightings of a dark figure that resembled Martin Owens. Some drivers claimed that he even tried to stop them forcefully. Although I can't really say whether it was him, some dark figure of a man horrified me that night. Today, I still drive my truck, but I don't take Route 50 anymore. And if I have to, I don't stop for anyone. If you ever find yourself out there, somewhere between Ely and Austin, alone after midnight, and you see a man waving by the roadside, don't stop. You never know. It could be Martin Owens. And trust me, the last thing you need is to bump into him at night, especially somewhere along Route 50. My name's Kevin, and I've been a long-haul trucker for over 15 years. If you've ever heard the stories about night trucking horror encounters, you'll know how quickly a routine run can turn into a nightmare. This is one of those true trucking stalker horror stories, the night I almost got lured and trapped into the woods on a dark night. It was a cold, clear May night out on a lonely highway in North Dakota. The flat, endless roads made trucking easier, but also meant you could see the darkness creeping in all around you, woods stretching endlessly on both sides. I was running a route from my warehouse in North Dakota to Montana, pushing myself hard without rest, determined to finish the run in one shot. Efficiency is everything in this job, especially when you're not paid by the hour. After nearly 15 years behind the wheel, I thought I could handle anything, even driving on almost no sleep, fueled by smelling salts my buddy Tristan swore by. But that night, fatigue was catching up with me fast. Around midnight, my eyelids grew heavy, and I was struggling to stay awake. Then, out of nowhere, I caught sight of something on the road, a purple dress lying there like it had been dropped. I blinked, thinking I was hallucinating, but it was real. Not far beyond, a pair of shoes and piles of clothes scattered across the road. Panic started to creep in. What was going on? My heart pounded as I slowed down, desperately searching for a place to pull over. But all I saw was woods. Just woods on either side. Against my better judgment, I stopped and stepped out of the truck. The cold air hit me like a shock, sharpening my senses. I thought that the clothes were not scattered by mistake. Maybe it was a trap, I thought. But maybe someone is in danger and needs help. Another thought crossed my mind. All the while, my intuition told me that something was very wrong, but I still felt the urge to take a quick look. Suddenly, I heard a crunching noise from the left side of the road. I whipped around, eyes darting through the blackness. No one was visible. 30 seconds later, another crunch came from the right. My survival instincts kicked in. I sprinted back to the truck. Just as I slammed the door, I heard what sounded like a faint scream coming from the woods. Low-pitched, desperate. My blood ran cold. I wanted to check it out, but I couldn't. I was already more than horrified when I got out of the track earlier. Without thinking, I started the truck and drove off, skidding a few tires. After stepping hard on the gas pedal for a couple of miles, I relaxed a little bit. I was now steering the truck normally, but still really frightened. I thought it was all over. I was wrong. Without warning, something thudded against the side of my truck. Then I heard an eerie shout I couldn't understand, followed by a huge crack on the passenger window. Fear took over. I slammed on the gas and sped away, my heart racing even faster. I didn't stop for another hour until I reached my destination, after finally catching a moment or relief. But still, I couldn't sleep. I reflected my unusual ordeal. I didn't know what to make of the scattered clothes or the faint screams. But, without any doubt, I think someone had laid some kind of a trap there or something. Out of all my years on the road, nothing has come close to the terror of that night, when I realized some nightmares aren't just stories told around a campfire. They're very real. And sometimes they're waiting for you on the lonely roads, just beyond the headlights. So, be careful the next time you jump into that track and step on the gas pedal for your next delivery.